Hello! Thanks for clicking on Just Beast Fitness. I'm your trainer Jasper Bravo. Today we are training our arms. This is the video for those who want to have big arms, that is big biceps and triceps, just so that you can look sexier, stronger, and above all, more athletic. And this is the type of workout that you want to do when you have fat arms, so you want to tone them, or if you have tiny arms and you want them to be bigger. This is just the workout for that. So you need to tag along so that we can build those big sexy arms. And we're setting our workout as always with some warm-ups, and we are using push-ups for that. Just want to make sure that always we are safe, and one of the ways to keeping yourself safe in the workout is having a proper workout warm-up before you start, because sometimes you might get injured in the process just because you got into the weight without warming your joints and muscles prior. So yeah, that's just a disclaimer. Always try, if you have time, which you should create time, to warm up all the time before you start your workout. It's good. Personally, I don't warm up before every exercise, but I warm up before the workout. That is the first set. Then other workouts I want to warm up. The people warm up in each and every workout. I don't understand why, but yeah, that's just my take. Of course, there's sometimes this has gotten into trouble because sometimes I'm training. There's this time that I got hurt the other day. Right now I still have that injury, and it's because I was doing hamstrings on that day, and I warmed up my hamstrings really well. Then when I was about to now go for the stiff leg, the RDLs, the stiff leg deadlifts, I got some tear on my shoulders because my shoulders weren't warmed. It's my lower body that was, and I forgot that even doing the lower body, sometimes you'll still use your upper body, that is your arm, shoulders, to lift the weight. So yeah, that was a mistake, and it's a lesson I learned. So we're starting our workout today with these preacher curls, and I've just taken a weight that will allow me to go for about 10 reps. Today is that day we are going for heavy weights, by the moderately heavy. And when I say heavy, I mean a weight that will go between 5 reps to about 12 reps. That's, for me, that is heavy. So that's what we're doing right now. And I want you to notice that when you're doing this workout, which is preacher curls, you stretch that arm all the way down, because I see some people do these halfway type of reps, and it might be working for you, but if you've never tried this, you should. This is where you're stretching your muscle all the way down, and you are going to see some difference, because there's just something about stretching the muscle under load. It makes it grow, kind of. It's like it takes a muscle through some serious stretch that it's not used to, that it has not no otherwise but to just respond to it by getting stronger and consequently getting bigger. So that makes it for the first set of the biceps. And you know, we are doing these workouts, which means we are doing alternatively. After doing the bicep, we go direct to tricep. This is now the tricep extension. Also, we are going for quite some heavy weights, and we're also aiming again for that 12-15 reps is still good. If we're able to manage that, that will be a good one, because why not? If we can go heavy and still go high reps, that is good. That is more than perfect, because it's expected that when we're going for heavy weights, we need not go for super high reps. We are expected to, that's the time that you're allowed to go for low reps. But don't cheat. There's guys usually say that it's okay to cheat when you're doing the heavyweights. I don't agree. In fact, I'd say that, in fact, I'd be for the contrary, and that is, when you are lifting super heavy weights, that's the time that you need to maintain the form much more than even when you're lifting the lighter weights. And let me explain. That moment when you're lifting super heavy weights, that's the moment that your joints, your muscles are at the highest at our highest level of vulnerability. That's the time that you can easily get hurt, because just a little twitch on a joint or a muscle, you get a muscle dislocation. You get a joint dislocation or a muscle tear. You get, because that time the weight is super heavy, and if it goes the wrong way even a little bit, it gives serious damage. For instance, when you're driving while drunk, assuming that you're drinking, you drink while driving, or you drive while drinking, whatever, and then something in your mind tells you that the wisest thing to do is to drive the car under, let's say, over 150 kilometer per hour. Mark you're drunk, and because the highway is so clear, decide to do that. And because of the adrenaline, and you can't make decisions really right when you're drunk sometimes, and then something passes on the road, let's say a cat or something, whatever, so you have to kind of try to escape it, and you veer out of the road, you see, and you're driving under over 150 kilometer per hour. You're drunk, and you just escaped an accident or so. And then the other guy, who is also drunk, just drank the same number of bottles as you, but since he's wiser, he chose to go for lower distance. A lower speed. Let's say he decides that I'm just going to drive this stuff for 70 kilometer per hour, or let's say 80. 80 is good enough. 80 kilometer per hour. Then he gets himself in the same situation where there's this cat that is passing across the road suddenly from nowhere, and he has to try to escape, not to hit it. Or let's say there's a baby, or an old woman, or wherever, anybody, something in a vulnerable situation, or somebody that you have to escape so that you don't hurt them. And then this guy escapes, and maybe he also veers out of the road. And then, between these two guys, who do you think has a higher chance of coming out of that accident safer, or hurt less, or not hurt totally? Of course, it's the guy who was driving under very low speed, right? Because when you're driving under low speed, number one, it's easier to control the situation. That is, if things go off, there's a way in which you can take things back to control and get over the business. But now the problem comes in when you are in a super high speed, and now you just want to try and save your life and somebody else's. Chances of you panicking is very high. And then number two, when you hit something, let's say you hit a tree or something besides the road, you're going to get hurt so badly. That is if you don't die, you see. So it's the same thing when you're lifting super heavy weights. It is recommended that you go slow and you control the weight, because this is the time you need to be most careful, just in case something goes wrong. You can take things under control soonest. Now this is the second set for the tricep extension, and already I'm feeling that pump. You can notice the movement on the triceps. By the way, I want you to know that this workout is one of the best workouts, especially for the short and mid head, and even the long head. It also hits the long head of the triceps, and it's also easy to load. By there, you can always use so much weight on this workout. So progressive overload is just one of the best things with this one. So that just gives you an extra reason why you need to do this workout. If you don't usually do it, it's a good one for your triceps, and it will help you grow a big lot. Now we're going to the next workout, which is heavy barbell curls. So I want you also to understand that today, in between these sets, I'm resting a bit longer because the weights are heavier. Normally when you're training, there's usually that type of recovery, because of course there are two types of recovery. There's the recovery in between the sets, and there's recovery in between the workouts. So in between the sets, that is when you're in the gym training, before you go to the next set, you should be ready, right? So being ready for the next set is called being recovered, or fully being recovered. So when you're going for the lighter weights, which will go for higher reps, I normally tend to notice that the rest in between the sets don't need to be really long. I tend to recover faster as compared to like a day like today when I'm going for heavy weights. Today tends to take a bit longer for me to recover in betweens. So just to avoid any type of inconvenience, or when you're working out and you notice that the day that you're going really heavy, you notice that when you go for the next set, you're not able to do so many reps, it's because you're going too soon. You don't need to rush it. If you choose to go for heavy weights, you have to sacrifice the time factor, and you have to accept the fact that you're going to take a little bit longer in between the sets so that you are ready for the next set. Because you don't want to do also a set not well recovered, then you don't do enough number of reps. Understand? So just to get both from the both world, you need to recover fully between the sets, as long as you're going for heavy weights, just to make you ready, and you'll get that better pump as compared to somebody who rushes the workout and then doesn't get enough. Now this is a close grip. This is a close grip bench press. This is a very good workout by the way also for your triceps. And guess what? I love it so much because it also helps you with hitting your chest from some angle that you don't usually do. Because normally when you're doing bench press, you hit your chest from a certain angle because there's that grip that you use. Because you're avoiding to make the grip really close, because when you put it close, the triceps might get tired before you are fully done with your chest. So I usually like to throw this in on my triceps day, just to allow me to hit that chest from a different angle, and above all, just to hit that triceps too, because it's these workouts that allows you also to really overload the triceps. And those workouts that allow you to overload the triceps, you need to do them more frequently if you're really concerned about getting those big arms and serious growth, because it's the big weights that really get you stronger. Of course, the light weights also get you stronger, but when I say big, it's relative, because there are people who argue so much that you need heavy weights for you to build any muscle, which is something that is very controversial, but it's such a lie. You don't need heavy weights to grow a bigger muscle. Anyway, now we are going to the inclined dumbbell curls, and this one is also a very beautiful workout. But now on this one, we are going for super lightweight so that we can go for high reps, because we want to get that pump now. We have really made the biceps do so much work, and now it's time to make it get some pump, because it deserves it. So I was telling you that you don't need heavy weights for you to build big muscles. What really matters is, because okay, logically it will look like big muscles, big weights, right? But okay, that's not how the body operates. Number one, your body doesn't know how many kgs you're lifting, so that already debunks the situation. If you're let's say lifting 12 kgs and another time you lift 15, your body doesn't know the difference. Your body is just aware of the type of tension you're taking it through. That is the form with which you're doing the weight, which is the most important of them all, this form. Number two, your closeness to failure. That is your closeness to muscle failure. How close are you getting to muscle failure? And then thirdly, about the time under tension. How long is that tension that you're doing, or how long that is that tension that you are sending to the muscle is taking? How long are you doing that set? Because some people will take the heavy weights, yes, but they rush the reps really quick because they want to be done with it, and you end up having done a set that lasted about 10 or 15 seconds. And guess what? Like, the muscle requires you to do it for about to be under tension for about 40 seconds. So you can imagine you're just doing 15 seconds and you're done. So those things are far more important than the weight you're lifting. In fact, they are the only important things. The weight you're lifting doesn't really matter, as long as you're considering the fact that the weight you're lifting, it's not a weight that allows you to go past 30 reps, because with the right form. Because if that's the case, then that's a weight that will not allow you to improve really well, especially if building muscles is what you are interested in. But still, I will always recommend that you don't really care so much about how much weight you're lifting. It's not really important. Of course, it's good to have some targets, because it makes the game more interesting. Let's say you target lifting a certain weight by a certain time, or maybe you want to get to a certain number of reps by a certain time or by a certain week. So such targets are okay to make the game more interesting, of course, but they shouldn't be your main aim as you go to the gym or as you follow your fitness journey. You should know what you want to do. If you really want to gain muscles, be more athletic and be stronger, you know what you need to do. If you want to be a power lifter, of course, you can always be checking how much weight you're lifting and always aiming at adding more. But if it's about building a great body and being a great performer, then you need to always prioritize your performance over the weight that you're lifting, which means you should have great form always with a great control of the movement, and above all, you should get close or even beyond failure. Now this is another workout. The next workout that now this is the second set for this one. This is the leg. This is the dips, but now this one is the dips that concentrates on the triceps. Is a very great workout for shoulders by the for triceps if you can do it. If you can't, you can always start by doing the bench dips. Then as you progress and get stronger, you can always progress and now start doing this one. It's always good, and the people who argue that it might be dangerous to the shoulders, I want to tell you that that is not true as long as you are maintaining great form. If you don't maintain great form, of course, you can get hurt. Any weight can hurt you, any workout can hurt you if you just don't do it right. Because that's why I always insist on maintaining a great form each and every time. And you make sure that you try to push yourself as hard as you can. That is, don't be too shy sometimes to add weight. Don't be too shy sometimes to add an extra rep. Just because you're feeling some sort of pain in between the set doesn't mean that it's time to stop. Because sometimes the pain might be there, but that doesn't mean that you can't continue. Maybe there's some 4 more reps which are still in the tank, and if you leave, you won't get that gain. So always push yourself all the way, no matter what. Understand? So I just need you to get that in mind. Always remember to be consistent. And those people who want to train their arms, and you want your arms to grow big and at the same time you want them to be toned, I need you also to check your diet, because sometimes you might be having very awesome arms but you can't see the muscles because you haven't toned your body. And how do you do that? Check your diet really well, which means you need to reduce the calories you're having so that you are in a sort of a caloric deficit. And if that's not possible, you can also add a little bit of cardio, because cardio helps you to burn more fats, and that could help you also to make those biceps and triceps be seen more. Because sometimes you think that you want your arms to be bigger and yet you just want them to be more toned, because toned arms always look bigger than untoned. I can assure you that there are very many people who have bigger arms than mine, but when you look at mine, you'll assume that my arms are bigger because they're toned. There's some people who have just fat arms, and when you look at those arms, you think they're not big enough until they tone their arms, and you'll notice that they really have big arms, only that now they look fat. And when the arms look fat, they never really look that big, especially for men. For ladies, the same. You train your arms, and that's not enough. If you want to tone your arms, make sure you check your diet really well, which means try as much as possible not to eat too much calories. And that consistently will help you grow, watching your diet and sleep. And let me see you in the next one if you've watched all the way, and like the video. See ya.